Hello, welcome to my first video, kind of. The other one was just a trailer, but today I wanted to get something started off the right way. Um, Something that I think we should talk about well in the beginning as well, the beginning, creation. The creation of, well, just about everything. Everything we know, everything we touch, just about everything that we are around 24/7 every day. So I thought, why not get started? I was thinking, well, if you have a Bible and you wish to follow along, we'll be reading from Genesis 1 and 2 for all the way through. So let's get started. And whenever I listen at church or anything and someone else has a different translation than me, it always gets a little bit weird, like reading along. It's hard for me to keep track of the verses. So just to let you know, this is NIV. Okay, the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the water. Spirit of God was hovering over the water. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky. And there was evening and there was morning, the second day. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear." And it was so. God created the dry ground, God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land, that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds." And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed, according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it, according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky, to separate the day from night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vaults of the sky, to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the great light to govern the day, and the lesser night to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky, to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the fourth day. And God said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth and across the vault of the sky." So God created the great creatures of the sea, and every living thing with which the water teems and that moves about in it, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on earth." And there was evening and there was morning, the fifth day. And God said, "Let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea, and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And I was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all the vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Adam and Eve. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created, when the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Now no shrub had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth. But there was no one to work the ground, but streams came up from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Now the Lord God had planted a garden in the east, in Eden, and there he put the man he had formed. The Lord God made all kinds of trees grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eyes and good for food. In the middle of the garden were the tree of life, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. A river watering the garden flowed from Eden. From it there was separated into 4 headwaters. The name of the first in it is the Pishon. It winds through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good, Armad, Resan, and onyx are also there. The name of the second river is Gishon. It winds through the entire land. It winds through the entire land of Cush. The number of the third river is the Tigris. It runs along the east side of Ashur. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of him. And the Lord God commanded the man, You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. The Lord God said, It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. So the man gave names to all the livestock, the birds in the sky, and all the wild animals. But for Adam no suitable helper was found. So God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs, and then closed up the place with flesh. And the Lord God made a woman from the rib, and he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. The man said, There is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother, and is united to his wife, and they became one flesh. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. So there's a lot to understand from this first 2 chapters of the Bible. For one, everything is created through his words. Just know that. Take that away right now. All God did was speak, and the universe was created. Apart from the fact that it takes mere words for me to get anything done. I can't say, hey phone, stop, turn off, or anything. I can't just speak things into existence. I can't just speak a table or anything into existence, but he did. But there is something we should look into at the beginning of the Gospel according to John. In 1 John, right at the beginning, before Jesus was even around, the first 5 verses, John 1, 1 through 5. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. What is that saying? Essentially, there are some other topics about Jesus, but that's not the focus of today's sermon or talk or whatever you want to call it. That is the idea that God created the Word through his purity to overcome the darkness and nothingness that the world was in the beginning. He did this to put a meaning in this existence that he was with. He did this to create us. Why he did it? We don't know. There's a lot of things, oh, he was lonely, oh, this or that tend to, it's hard because God is perfect, so why did he do anything? It's a very difficult question to answer. But just know this. Don't ask, why did God do it? Thank God for doing it. Don't ask why he did this wonderful thing for you, bringing the world out of this darkness where nothing would have happened. Think of anything you love. Nothing. Zero. Zip. Nada. Nothing would have happened without God who has come through. And remember when this was written. This was written in a time when, one, they thought, well, after Jesus, I don't know exactly when the book of John was written, but this was in a time of sin. And it says that darkness hasn't yet overcome the light. What does that mean? Despite the world of sin that we live in today, God hadn't given up on everyone and wanted to create the same Garden of Eden that had been, well, messed up. We'll cover that later. But for now, let's go back into the creation. The creation has a sort of rhythm. The first 6 days, God creates something, and it slowly gets bigger. Like he starts with the skies and the sun, the moon, and then it turns into life and fruitfulness and the creating and the multiplication. And then it creates to his most important of all, someone he made in his own image, Adam. He created man in his own image, to govern the world, to almost be God's partners, to live with God. That is what he called. And then something special happens. After he created humanity, us, mankind, he rested. The very first, what Jewish people call Shabbat. Shabbat is, if you don't know, a day of resting for the Jewish people. And it's a day of rest that Christians have turned from to Sunday. So they honor that by going to church. Muslims do it on Friday and everything, but it is a day of rest. God knew us and knew we could take a rest. And this day does not say, and it was good, and the first day and the day ended. This is an idea of it going on, of this goal, of this wonderful nirvana. Or God didn't want the weekend to end. But anyway, that is what it said. So Genesis 1:31, one of those Bible verses you should put on your backpack or whatever. Probably the most important thing maybe to come out of Genesis, and probably the most important thing definitely in that first chapter and a lot of the first early goings of the Bible. Remember, this is, even if the Big Bang Theory is right or any of that, God looked upon his creation at the end of working and said, it is good. Even just think about that going through your week. Do stuff you're proud of. Work on that. Do that school assignment that you're proud of so you can sit back one day and say it is good and thank God every day for this wonderful creation that he has made. It is all a gift from God every day, because without him, if he hadn't wanted something for us, then nothing would have happened. Seriously, nothing would have come from any of this. But there is still something past the first chapter, which is why I didn't just end at Genesis 1. There is very much in Genesis 2. In fact, I'm going to reopen it, and let's go back into why I kept going. There was a lot of this is a lot of the chapter where God gave Adam like things to do, like do livestock, tend to the animals, and be ruler over the animals, and give the animals names. But there is something that happens to the tail end. Now, to the end. But for God said, it is in Genesis 2:18, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. But no helper was found. This is a very important thing. God saw to man and realized it is not good for the man to be alone. So what did he do? He caused Adam to go into a deep sleep, and from it he took from one of Adam's ribs. And humans essentially everything had been created from the dust. God picked dust up, breathed the breath of life into him, and he created Adam. But from that dust, God took the rib and he made a woman, Eve, to be Adam's companion, the very first ever marriage. Why is this important? It showed this idea that I once heard something. Why did he specifically take from the rib? Well, let's go into what woman essentially means in Hebrew. In Hebrew, it essentially means taken from man. This is an extra extension of men to a woman to be our companions, to help us, to make sure that we're not alone. And without women and without men, no humanity would have existed. If there was no woman, it would have been just Adam. And if Eve had been the first person on earth, then it would still have been just Eve without Adam. They need each other to work together. Woman means extension of man. Now, why was it a rib? Well, I actually heard something. I wish I had come up with this, but I did not come up with this. It was apparently, I heard this from one in Mission Hills, a pastor say that he heard one of his friends say this, that she was not taken, God did not come and take part of Adam's head so she would be above him. He did not come to take from Adam's feet so she would be below him. He came to take from the rib so that she would be an equal to him, to be protected by him, to be loved by him, an equal. So, the next time you hear someone say the Bible is sexist or any of that other stuff, remember this, that God intended for this partnership we know as marriage to be an equal collaboration among the two. Not to be something where the woman is below, but the woman is to also love the man together. Now, that is something that I think I could go on and on. The creation is something very, literally, pretty obviously one of the more important events in Christianity, in the Bible, in any religion of the three Abrahamic religions, in the world. This is true. That God created the world. And thanks to that, things happen, and we have him to thank that things happened. So thank God that things happened, because I believe most of us would rather things have happened than nothing have happened. Every day, thank God for this. Now, thanks for tuning in. I could talk about the creation a long time. I could keep going on and on, but I've got to stop myself. Now, I'm going to probably post about every week, so thanks for coming in. Next week, I've talked about this. I've already kind of brought it up. I can't let this stand alone. Next week, we will be talking about the fall and into sin and why that happens and some of the things that is the promises made in Genesis and how it's paid on later on in the Bible and later on throughout the gospel. Thanks for coming in. Have a great day. God bless.